We were speaking to quite a lot of experts yesterday about the prospect of Israel hitting Iran's nuclear sites. And previously, in April, when Iran carried out this barrage of missile attack on Israel, the Israelis avoided hitting those targets, but they did attack a radar site near to the nuclear facilities in sort of a symbolic act. If they were to go a step further, experts believe that this would be a real red line for Tehran, and Tehran would then have to respond in kind.
Lindsay, the story that's sort of dominating all the news everywhere at the moment is, of course, Israel and Hezbollah. We were talking about this last week, and of course, you know, the situation has only deteriorated. Overnight, there have been more Israeli airstrikes on Beirut. More British nationals are expected to be airlifted out of Lebanon today. And as we come on air, the Reuters news agency is reporting that Israel claims it has killed the head of the Hamas government in the Gaza Strip. Lindsay, Richard Spencer is reporting from the Israel-Lebanon border for the paper. The headline is 3 wars and 1 choice. Which will Israel fight first? Emphasising just how wide-scale this has become, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean, that piece, for your listeners, if they haven't read it, is really worth reading. Richard Spencer's Close to the Border, and the insight that he gives, both in terms of what he's seeing there and also the options that sit in front of Israel is really fascinating. It's, you know, as you say, I've been on the show the last 3 or 4 weeks, and every time we've talked about this conflict and, you know, how it's been escalating, and it really is terrifying each week that I come on that we're in a much scarier place than we were previously.
Well, it's like, I mean, so Israel's sort of been saying from the start, this is really a war against Iran, and that looked like a convenient thing for Israel to say, and it has either by somebody's design turned into a war basically against Iran, you know, and it just, And
you look at the maps that the Times have been producing digitally, and you look at the countries which are surrounding Israel and the different Iranian proxies that sit in them, and the attacks that are happening in these areas, and you really see this kind of sort of ring of fire that exists and what Israel is really driving at.
Indeed. Well, let's bring in Larisa Brown, the Times' defence editor. Hello, Larisa.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us. Can you tell us something about the news that Israel may have killed a senior Hamas figure in Gaza?
Yeah, there's not much detail about this at the moment, but it was thought that this actually happened about 3 months ago, but it just wasn't announced at the time. So it's quite unusual that it's come out now. But this guy was obviously one of these senior Hamas leaders. Iran has been trying to target anyone in the senior leadership of the militias.
Israel has.
Israel has. And so this is just another high-value target that they've managed to reach.
Yeah, and they do seem to be very effective at reaching them. Look, the world is still waiting for Israel's response to the Iranian missile attack of the other night. Joe Biden told Israel not to hit nuclear sites when it retaliates. What are you expecting that retaliation to involve? Will it involve nuclear sites? Does Israel care what Joe Biden says?
What Biden said is quite interesting, because actually we were hearing over the last 24 hours that Israel had warned Iran that if Iran did strike Israel, then it would then retaliate by targeting the nuclear sites and also oil fields. And so the fact that Biden's come out to say this on record shows exactly what the Israeli thinking is, and Biden wants to try and obviously avert them from doing that. Whether they'll listen, it's a bit unclear, because obviously previously Biden's urged Israel to do lots of different things and they've gone ahead and done it. So I'm not sure whether Biden's words will have that much of an impact, but we were speaking to quite a lot of experts yesterday about the prospect of Israel hitting Iran's nuclear sites. And previously, in April, when Iran carried out this barrage of missile attack on Israel, the Israelis avoided hitting those targets, but they did attack a radar site near to the nuclear facilities in sort of a symbolic act. If they were to go a step further, experts believe that this would be a real red line for Tehran, and Tehran would then have to respond in kind.
Wow. I mean, you write in the paper today that Iran could have its first nuclear warheads within 6 months.
Yes, we spoke to one of the top experts on this, who has been to Iran on several occasions and been to their nuclear sites. And he was saying that the way things are going, he believes that they would have 10 nuclear warheads ready within 6 months. So we're talking about April time, ready to fire at their enemies. But he did also say that he doesn't believe that Iran would actually do that, obviously, because there would be extreme consequences as a result.
But that does, you can see why that does rather incentivize Israel to make that their targets for now.
But then there's a flip side to it, because actually some of those Iranian facilities, they're going to try and strike them, but actually a lot of it's going to be underground. So if they fail to actually obliterate any of the nuclear sites, then Iran then might feel that it's pushed into a corner, and then actually its only option left is to then deploy nuclear weapons.
Because otherwise they're going to be blown up there. Yeah, no, understood. Look, turning to the evacuation, do we know how many people are being flown out and how many remain in Lebanon?
So we had 180 British citizens and their dependents leave yesterday. Another flight going out today, and the Foreign Office has also said that they would also bring on more flights if necessary. I think there's a big nervousness that Israel might go after the airport in the coming days. And obviously there's a lot of Hezbollah stronghold areas around the airport. And so people really fear that there might not be that long before British citizens find themselves trapped in the country.
And do we have any sense of, are a lot of people leaving, or are people sort of battening down the hatches and staying put?
I think the last few days has seen a lot more people registering an interest with the embassy, saying that they want to leave. And they've obviously not wanted to leave before because they didn't expect things to spiral quite so dramatically as they have already. And obviously the reason that the Foreign Office have put on these extra flights is because the British citizens can't get on normal commercial flights because they're all full.
Yeah.
So clearly people now are desperate to leave.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed, Larisa Brown. Larisa Brown is Times' defence editor. Lindsay, to bring you back in, that story of evacuations, British people in Lebanon. How much have you heard about sort of British people not being able to get out, struggling to get out? It feels like a story I haven't heard that much about beyond the kind of top line.
Yeah, I mean, I think as Larissa was saying, what happened was that although there had been sort of warnings that something was brewing in the region, the kind of the sense of the risk wasn't as high as perhaps it needed to be for quite a long time, and people thought that they could continue with their lives, and then all of a sudden it was clear that was not going to be possible, and now people are kind of flocking to get out. I think, as Larissa was saying, there was one kind of chartered flight that went out yesterday, but it's been very, very difficult for people to make it through. And probably about a week or so ago, we were hearing some really quite compelling stories on the radio about people who had been stuck there and just desperate to move. But
because I remember in 2006 when that war began, there were an awful lot of people who were suddenly caught short, stranded, sort of DJs and club promoters and all kinds of people, and I just haven't really been hearing that this time, so I wondered if that meant it was being handled better.
I suspect not.
Well, it tends to be the way.